Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to the Mixer, and today's topic is going to be something quite terrifying. It's going to haunt you in your dreams and keep you up at night. It's definitely going to give you some difficulty sleeping by yourself, because in the darkness of the night, we know that darkness falls and the light goes away and scary stuff Okay, but basically I'm going to be talking about something that could be considered as frightening depending on how much of a scaredy cat you are, okay? Some time ago I talked about Annabelle, the haunted doll from Hollywood's crazy movie series there of the Conjuring stuff, and how there's actually a real life basis on that, how the doll actually exists. And today I'm going to be talking about Annabelle's distant cousin, Robert. So, you guys might have never even heard about Robert, but you see, when it comes to haunted dolls, this guy is right up there. I would go on to say he's even more famous than Annabelle, or infamous if I could say, Now, the thing with Robert is that, you see, he's a very interesting fellow, and I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of a rundown of his origins, the history behind him, and how the legend itself kind of propagates into something that we know today to be an urban legend of sorts, but could actually have a real basis in reality, okay? So let's get into it. I got my little cheat sheet here, guys. I could not memorize anything for the script here, so I'm just gonna randomly read here for you guys and also give you a little bit of my take on it, so check this out, guys. I love how it says that he is an allegedly haunted doll. Like, there's so many years of history, there's been so many instances of him demonstrating that he actually is haunted, there's something wrong with him, but it says allegedly. Okay, so whoever wrote this article doesn't believe in the paranormal at all. So anyway, right now he is exhibited at the East Martello Museum in Florida, alright? Actually, no, wait, yes, I do believe that is in Florida. Let me go ahead and check that for you guys. Yes, Key West, Florida. Actually, not that far from where I used to live back in the day. But anyway, so here's the thing. He was once owned by Robert Eugene Otto, who was actually a painter and author who lived in Key West, Florida. Imagine Key West way back in the day. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the place that people go to party how it is today. But anyway, so here we go, guys. The doll originally belonged to this guy. And then it was manufactured by the Steve Company of Germany and purchased by his grandfather while on a trip to Germany in 1904. So this thing is really old. This doll is even older than Annabelle. And it was given to young Otto as a birthday present, okay? Now, here's the thing. The doll wears a sailor suit. He wears a little sailor outfit. And it's probably something that Otto himself wore when he was a kid, so that's why it kind of was inspired by him. And then the doll actually remained stored in the Otto family house, in Key West while Otto was studying art in New York and Paris, and then later he came back as an adult to find the doll again. Then he married a girl in 1930, then they returned to the family, and then Otto lived there until he died in 1974, okay? 2 years later, his wife died, and of course everybody said this because of the doll, a bunch of weirdly crazy stuff happening there. Now, here's the thing, after they died, the same house containing the doll was actually sold to a different person who actually owned it for 20 years until the property was sold to the current owners who operate as a guest house, okay? Now, here's the thing, and as recently as 1994, he was donated to the museum in Key West, where he now stands as a very popular tourist attraction, and apparently it goes every year, they rotate it in and out to different places. It goes to the old post office and custom house, in October, the spooky moment, the Halloween stuff and all that, So that's a little bit of the origin behind the doll. Before I get into more details, let me show you guys a few photos of this thing. Okay, so looking at him, he might not seem very creepy. He actually seems kind of stale, a very normal kind of doll that might not even really present a danger to anyone, However, even though he looks a little bit more innocent than Annabelle is definitely much scarier, there is still a supernatural, there's a whole mythology behind him, okay? According to legend, Robert actually moves. He's never really stationary. The verdict is, I don't know if anyone has ever actually seen him move, because we don't really know if it's kind of like Annabelle where there's a supernatural force physically manipulating the doll and putting her in different places, or if in this case it's the actual doll itself who kind of has its own mindset and it can actually move by itself, but whatever. So anyway, According to legend, the doll has its supernatural abilities and it can change its facial expressions. You know, it can smile or frown and do this and that, and also giggle, so it can make laughing sounds as well. Now, there are different versions of the legend, and some of them claim that a young girl of Bohemian descent actually gave the doll to Otto as a gift, you know, as like a retaliation for a wrongdoing, it says here, you know. So then there goes the idea that maybe she maybe did some kind of voodoo ritual on the doll and actually cursed him and his entire family. That's why it's alive. And then also, hold on a second. And other stories claim that, you know, because there are other voodoo figurines around the room where it was staying, it actually moved them around, you know, and it was aware, they say aware, of what went on around him. So he knew everything that was happening. So if you happen to be in the same room as Otto, he was aware that you were there. He knew what you were doing, you know? So it's probably not a good idea to go to the bathroom near this thing, like, or if you go into the bathroom to, you know, pleasure yourself, you know, with a couple of Playboy magazines or something, you know. I mean, he's gonna know what you're doing, man. So, you know, it's just, it kind of seems a little awkward when you think of it that way, you know. And then other legends would claim that Robert would actually vanish, completely disappear without a trace, or after the house was changed ownership, you know. So after different people, you know, came to the house, they would report that the doll would actually move. And then it seems like because Otto blamed a lot of his childhood mishaps, the accidents, like anything bad that happened when he was a kid, he blamed on the doll. So that apparently kind of may have triggered the doll to become a little bit, you know, malevolent or something, you know, as like a revenge plot there. You know, and now there actually is local folklore around the Key West area that the doll has caused, and I quote, car accidents, broken bones, job loss, divorce, and a cornucopia of other misfortunes, as it says here, you know. And also it seems like people who visit the museum and they go to see the doll, they apparently experience post-visit misfortunes. Why you gotta make it so fancy? For apparently failing to respect Robert the doll. Now here's the thing, guys. Is this in any way plausible? It really depends on what the hell you believe in, you know? Like me, for example, you guys should know at this point, I've done quite a few different videos talking about the supernatural. I'm very skeptical, you know? So if I don't see something, I have a really hard time believing it, you know? So if it doesn't happen to me, there's a good chance I won't believe that it actually happened to somebody else. But that's just me. I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right. It's just the way that I think, you know? So like, because I have never seen Robert the doll, there's never been any video evidence or any images showing him moving. I really just, I can't really get behind the idea that it's alive, you know? Now, there are a few tangles in the mythology, you know, there are a few, let's say, they kind of establish a few set of rules for you to deal with Robert. And basically, when he was sent to the museum in Key West, you know, people who would clean the museum out, be it in the day or at night, they said that they would leave the doll in a certain position in a glass case, and then later he would be in a different position altogether, you know? So it's like, okay, but nobody was there to move him. There are surveillance cameras, you know, and they would never capture anything there out of the ordinary. So they would, like, nobody would ever claim to be moving Robert, you know. So that would be pretty much the idea that he would be doing it completely by himself, you know. Sometimes, for example, I mean, the idea was given that he would climb out of the glass case at night and do whatever the hell he wanted and come back in before somebody came, you know, which to me just seems very oddly inconvenient. You know, it's like, okay, so this doll wants to wander around, but only at night when there's nobody to witness him. So, I mean, it's like he doesn't want people to know he's alive. Like, he wants them to doubt his existence, but he supposedly causes misfortune. You know, it just seems a little suspicious to me, you know, in my opinion. So, and then sometimes people who work at the museum would put in little mints inside the case, you know, I guess to try to provoke him or see if something would happen. And like, for example, they would put in like 10 mints and the next day there would be 7. So I guess he would eat some of the mints, you know, even though his mouth doesn't seem to have a hole or anything, you know. And it brings up a whole plethora of questions, because if Robert can eat, I mean, can he take a dump? Can he go to the bathroom, you know? So, I mean, he has to relieve himself at some point, because if this doll can eat, then he has a stomach. If he has a stomach, he has bowels. If he has bowels, he has to go to the bathroom. So it opens up a whole another ocean of questions there. But which just adds to the idea of it just being a whole hoax. But anyway, so Then they would also see dust on his feet, his shoes, you know, which would suggest that he's been walking around the museum, you know, and getting all dusty and going back inside the thing. So now anyway, so basically the way that this works is that they are trying to establish that this doll is alive and, well, thinking for himself, you know. And probably my favorite part about this whole story is that if you go to the Key West Museum and you actually see him, you have the option of taking a photo, but you have to ask for his permission. That's right, I'm not making this up. You have to literally ask him, get close and ask him for your permission. Now, supposedly, according to legend, if he nods his head, then you can take the photo. And if he doesn't do anything, and if you take the photo anyway, then that's when the misfortunes will start to befall you. I'm not sure if there's been any case of somebody dying as a direct response to this, you know. Annabelle, for example, has at least one death tied to her, but Robert, as far as I know, does not. But you know, I mean, if you're living a pretty good life and then you go to the museum and you fail to respect him and then bad stuff starts happening, hey, look, it could just be a coincidence, but then again, I'm not the kind of person who believes in coincidences, because to me, if you say that something is a coincidence, that's just a lazy excuse for you to not try to look into something a little bit further that you were before. So yeah, to me, it's just a flimsy excuse, you know. Like, if you say that something is a coincidence, you're just being lazy. But it all comes down to what you believe in religiously, you know. But I do think that Robert the Doll is an interesting exploration of the paranormality, because I don't think anybody is ever gonna see the doll move. And let's be real, man, if you go to the museum and you actually see the doll move, you're probably just gonna chalk it up to the museum playing around with you, you know, like in Disney they have attractions that move, you know. So you might just think Robert is an animatronic, or they made him be animatronic, you know, somebody's controlling him to get your reaction. So this is also possible. But I don't know, because you're a supernatural doll, because it's not like Annabelle, who was put in a place where a priest can bless her, you know, once a month, I believe. So it's different. I mean, Robert is out there for you to see. He's in a public place for people to come and go and see him as they please, you know. So it's not like they're trying hard to contain whatever evil is attached to him like Annabelle, you know. So that's kind of like why it makes it a little suspicious, because if he really was alive, wouldn't you want to put him in like a vault? You know, a place where people can't visit him, and even if they want to, there's a bit more safety and not just a little thin glass case that he supposedly can come out of at night and wander around. You know, so it's just a little suspicious to me. But it's a very interesting story to talk about, and I really wanted to get this video out because I just reviewed The Conjuring 3, which doesn't have to do with dolls at all, but it is still a little spooky, so I wanted to get that topic out there. And I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, I really hope you guys liked this video, and hopefully I was able to get you a little curious, not to visit the damn thing, but maybe to look it up yourself. You know, there's a lot of different stories, you know, so many different stories. Like back in the day when the house was still old and I think Otto was still alive or probably already died, people who would walk by the house would see Robert in the window supposedly looking at them, and apparently his head would follow them as they walked past, you know. Or sometimes they would walk past the house twice and see him in a different window, you know. So it was very interesting. And of course Otto, the Eugene, the kid, claimed that the doll would talk to him, you know, and make things move around and scare him. So, you know, it's like it's all about Chucky all over again, you know. So there are a lot of interesting stories tied to him, you know. So it's really interesting to go look it up later, and you guys can see, because apparently the doll would move here and there, but it's kind of like, it's the same thing with Annabelle, where the doll only moves when you're not looking at it. So I mean, what's the freaking point? Like, what is the point? Like, if somebody had ever seen any of these dolls move, there might be a little more credibility to the story, you know. But all you say is that you left it in a position and you came back later and it was in a different position, man. I mean, whatever. But anyway, guys, if you happen to like this video, then please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel, because I release videos every single day, sometimes one, sometimes two. And also hit the notification button to know exactly what time of the day I'm going to be uploading, because I usually do that at random. So yeah, man. So for now, that's it. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.